Good morning, everybody. Zach here for another raw vegan recipe. I've been playing with buckwheat recently. I bought some whole organic buckwheat seeds and started sprouting them and have been exploring a few recipes, and this one is extremely simple and is a really fun breakfast or brunch treat. So I'd like to show it to you all. First of all, how do you prepare it? There's a preliminary work that needs to be done that's very easy but does take a little bit of time. So what I have here is 1 cup of buckwheat. Buckwheat is a fruit seed. Despite the misleading name, it is actually not a grain, and it is also not related to wheat. It's a very healthy addition to the diet. It's rich in a variety of minerals such as magnesium, manganese, copper, iron, the B vitamin range. It's also very dense in healthy fiber. But starting out, we're going to sprout our buckwheat seeds. I'm going to go ahead and fill this jar up and be right back. Alright, so I just added spring water to this. You want enough to fully submerge the seeds because they will swell up and expand as they soak. We're going to soak them for about 8 hours. 8 to 12 hours is fine, and then we will pour this water out and then continue to water them essentially 2 to 3 times a day until little tails start to form. I'm going to make a video coming up showing how to sprout more specifically, but that is the preliminary work. So before we want to prepare this, we're going to start out by soaking buckwheat. So in about 2 to 3 days, this will be ready to dehydrate. What I have here is buckwheat that has been, it started to sprout. I could have sprouted this a little bit longer, but it looks essentially the same as the dried buckwheat. But this has been soaked, so it has been enzymatically activated and then dehydrated at 103 degrees. So this is significantly more digestible than the dry buckwheat groats that we started out with. So this cereal is extremely fun and very, very tasty. So what I put in this bowl is 1 cup of buckwheat groats. Then what I have here is some nut milk I just prepared. I used 1/4 of a cup of pine nuts, 2 tablespoons of agave, and coconut nectar would be even better actually, a tiny sprinkle of salt, and then I used 2 cups of spring water. And I just blended that thoroughly, and it's a very sweet milk, which is going to complement the buckwheat. You can have fun with it when you're dehydrating and actually add other things so that the flavor will soak into it. We could have put some cinnamon or even probably agave or something, and it would have like soaked into it. But what I've prepared is just a simple, plain dried buckwheat, which is actually really tasty on its own. This is used in a lot of raw vegan granola recipes, which sell for really high dollar in the stores. Really all it is sprouted buckwheat that's been dehydrated. So I'm going to show some granola recipes coming up, but for now we're going to do our cereal. So I'm going to take our tasty nut milk here. I will take note of how much it actually requires. Okay, I used about half of it. So we really only need about 1 cup, it looks like, to get a whole bowl of cereal out of this. Actually, this has already got a little bit more milk than needed, probably. So, yeah, so really you could go ahead and prepare even half of what I made here. So even 1/8 of a cup of pine milk and 1 cup of water and 1 tablespoon of agave would be adequate to have 1 nice bowl of cereal. I've also got here some organic cinnamon. It's like very high quality fresh cinnamon here. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little sprinkle of cinnamon on top of here. And since I already sweetened this pine nut milk adequately, don't really need to go any other direction with this. And this is going to be a very tasty uh, raw vegan version of a nice sweet cinnamon cereal. And I dare not speak the brand name of other cinnamon cereals, which this could be considered a replication of, but I know that I do have quite a nostalgic kick when I consider poisonous cereals that I ate in my past, the GMO name brand ones in particular. What's really problematic about cinnamon, or sorry, not about cinnamon, about commercial cereals, not only are they non-organic and GMO and things like that, but they are comprised of grains, and grain is not the most digestible, and it is known to cause inflammation and a variety of other ailments in the body, which is what's really cool about this recipe is we're using buckwheat, so it's a grain-free cereal. Yeah, so I'm going to put some love and appreciation into this, as I always do before I consume. And as I've said before, that giving of appreciation, it could be considered a mystical or esoteric idea, and to me it is a sense of offering. It's giving thanks to the earth or the divine process which leads us to having nutritious meals such as this. But also, I think it serves a very biochemical purpose in priming and preparing our body as we develop any ritual connected to the consumption of food. It gives our body a chance to really prepare and be ready for it. So I think it really helps us to be at our prime capability of digesting food. So let's give it a try here. I don't want it to get too soggy while I'm rambling. Super good. This, with the amount of sugar that I put in it, this is more towards the like whole grain, less sweet variety of cereals. But you could sweeten it to taste. You could pour more agave or coconut nectar directly in here, but it seems best to probably blend it into your fresh nut milk. So if you wanted it to be really sweet, maybe add 2, 3, 4 tablespoons. If you want to, have it really be similar to a lot of those poisonous Western name brand cereals. Anyways, this is sufficient though for me because I don't really need it too sweet, and the cinnamon really adds a nice touch. I'll probably do some videos coming up showing how to make some more complex and fancy varieties of buckwheat cereal, but this is the basis. We're just sprouting our buckwheat, and then we're going to dehydrate our buckwheat for, I dehydrated it for about 12 hours, I think. Then it's got very dry from that amount of time. Then we just make some fresh nut milk and put it on there. So this is a great replacement for normal cereal. I wouldn't personally eat this in the morning very often. I normally just do fruit and eat really light initially. To me, this is a really good lunch. Nice and sustaining, nice and hearty. But if one could integrate it into the diet wherever they see fit. So I hope you guys enjoy this tasty blessing. Thank you for watching.